full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
Hey, folks, welcome to the program. Thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it. Telephone number 870-275-9799. That is the telephone number if you want to contribute to the conversation today, this morning. Man, we've got a good show for you. We're going to be checking in with the coordinator for the Northeast Arkansas Tea Party coming up at 7:30. Iris Stevens will be back on. It's always great to talk to her about a lot of things, but specifically fighting local tax increases. How many taxes are enough? Between the state government and the local government, the people of Arkansas are being fleeced by those in power. And, what's funny is it's like, how many more nice guys are there? You know what I mean? What I mean by that is like, it's always, well, this particular branch of government or this particular jurisdiction of government, the guy who's pushing for the tax increase, I know him, and he's a good guy, he's a pillar of the community, and it's just for this one area. People need it, and or some people are really advocating for it. A lot of times I'm finding the older we get, the older I get, I'm finding that most people want, a majority of us, to subsidize the minorities' hobbies at the local level. But how many more times is that going to work as an excuse? I mean, okay, so let's say it. Let's just say, hypothetically, you've got people at the federal level. And it's like, let's say there's somebody at the federal level, like a congressman here from Arkansas. I wouldn't necessarily say that they would do this, but let's just say they're pushing for a tax increase. Well, actually, I think, some of them want, maybe a national sales tax or a national internet sales tax. That's certainly something that Republicans would entertain. Let's say, okay, well, and, you start to criticize it, and it's like, oh, wow, wait a second. Congressman X is a nice guy. He's voted this way, he's voted good on these issues, and you might disagree with him on this, but, he's a nice guy, and this, it's a complex issue, and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Then we've got, at the state level. Oh, okay, well, it's State Representative so-and-so. He's advocating for this tax increase, and it's like, oh, well, let's rail against this one. We can defeat this one. Well, maybe you shouldn't be so. He is a nice guy, and if you're against this issue that he's for, the politicians are taking it personally. They think you're personally against them, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, all right, well, we'll lay off that one. We'll let them pass that tax increase. Okay, all right. It seems like the quorum court in my local county is wanting to, and by the way, the more local it gets, the more you can't say anything about anybody when it comes to passing the tax increase. This local justice of the peace, he's advocating for a tax increase on your property tax so that they can pay for, I don't know, an animal shelter. It's a huge problem, a lot of feral cats. Well, let's rail against this one. We can defeat it. Let's organize. Let's go. No. That's justice of the peace so-and-so. He's a pillar of the community. If you come out against him, he'll take it personally, and the rest of the community is, I can't believe that you're publicly disagreeing with this pillar of the community. So let that tax increase pass. Well, then it gets to the city council, and you've got city councilman so-and-so, and he is a pillar of the community. You can't talk about him because, I mean, I know you may disagree with higher taxes in general, but your opposition to higher taxes means that you're anti your city, that you're anti-progress, and you just need to calm down and not oppose it. See, I mean, you make the argument, and it seems like the argument's very effective. We'll talk about local tax increases with Ira Stevens coming up at 7:33. Let's start with the big news, though. This morning we have President Donald Trump being President Donald Trump. I'm telling you, listen to this. Nancy Pelosi was trying to distance herself from the radical left flank of the Democrat Party, the socialists, the apparent Islamists, and because President Trump is now attacking them, Nancy Pelosi's having to defend them again when they were in a fight. This is very interesting. I don't think they realize the level of strategy the president is operating at right now. And Tucker Carlson said it best: when Ilhan Omar is talking, the Democrats are losing. Go ahead. Here's President Trump yesterday, fielding questions from a hostile media.
Manufacturing businesses doing, press? The press. Wow, that's a lot of press. Look.
What were you talking about in your tweet about going back to their home?
Well, I didn't mention names, and I didn't do that, but I will tell you, with our country, and I think everybody in this audience, these are great manufacturers, great workers in our audience, too. They brought a lot of their workers here. If you're not happy here, then you can leave. As far as I'm concerned, if you hate our country, if you're not happy here,
and
you can leave.
the manufacturers apply.
And that's what I say all the time. That's what I said in a tweet, which I guess some people think is controversial. A lot of people love it, by the way. A lot of people love it. But if you're not happy in the U.S., if you're complaining all the time, very simply, you can leave. You can leave right now. Come back if you want. Don't come back. It's okay, too. But if you're not happy, you can leave. Well, that's just a very racist statement, somebody that would say that. So Speaker Pelosi said, "Make America white again." Let me tell you, that's a very racist statement. I'm surprised she'd say that. John, go ahead.
That's great.
Well, they're very unhappy. I'm watching them. All they do is complain. So all I'm saying is, if they want to leave, they can leave, John. They can leave. I mean, I look at Omar. I don't know. I never met her. I hear the way she talks about Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda has killed many Americans. She said, you can hold your chest out. You can, when I think of America, when I think of Al-Qaeda, I can hold my chest out. When she talked about the World Trade Center being knocked down, some people, you remember the famous some people. These are people that, in my opinion, hate our country. Now, you can say what you want, but get a list of all of the statements they've made. And all I'm saying that if they're not happy here, they can leave. They can leave, and you know what? I'm sure that there'll be many people that won't miss them. But they have to love our country. They're Congress people, and I never used any names. But these are people, quiet.
Some woman being like, but
Quiet.
they're American citizens. Let them talk.
Quiet.
Just let them talk.
These are people that if they don't like it here, they can leave. And I don't know who's going to miss them, but I guess some people will. One of them is polling at 8%. One of them is polling at 8%. So when I hear people speaking about how wonderful Al-Qaeda is, when I hear people talking about some people with the World Trade Center, some people, no, not some people, much more than some people. When I hear the statements that they've made, and in one case you have somebody that comes from Somalia, which is a failed government, a failed state, who left Somalia, who ultimately came here, and now is a congresswoman who's never happy. says horrible things about Israel, hates Israel, hates Jews, hates Jews. It's very simple. And if the Democrats want to wrap their bows around this group of 4 people, one of them kept Amazon out of New York, tens of thousands of jobs, would have been a great thing. And she kept Amazon from going, would have been a good deal. I mean, could he have made better? Maybe. But tens of thousands of jobs. And New York has not been the same since that happened. It's really hurt New York and New York City. Amazon was going to go. They were going to relocate a major section of their business in New York. She kept them out. That was a terrible thing she did. A terrible thing she did. So here's the story. Here's the story. I see them complaining. They're complaining constantly. I watched Lindsey Graham today on Fox and Friends talking about the same subject, and frankly, even stronger than what I'm saying. He said they're communists. I'm saying that they're socialists, definitely. As to whether or not they're communists, I would think they might be. But this isn't what our country is about. Nevertheless, they're free to leave if they want. And if they want to leave, that's fine. And if they want to stay, that's fine. But the people have to know. And politicians can't be afraid to take them on. A politician that hears somebody where we're at war with Al-Qaeda and sees somebody talking about how great Al-Qaeda is, pick out her statement. That was Omar. How great Al-Qaeda is. When you hear that, and we're losing great soldiers to Al-Qaeda, when you see the World Trade Center gets knocked down, and you see the statements made about the World Trade Center, all the death and destruction, I'll tell you what, I'm not happy with them. Yeah. And it's very easy to be saying, oh, gee, well, it's okay. If weak politicians want to say, and the Democrats in this case, if they want to gear their wagons around these 4 people, I think they're going to have a very tough election because I don't think the people of the United States will stand for it.
And their anti-Semitic comments. Okay, again, that's the president yesterday. It is kind of a firestorm, but, I mean, to me, the reaction from the left based on Trump's tweets is so much more entertaining than Trump's tweets themselves. I mean, all Trump is doing is essentially, people are saying what he said was racist. It's not racism, okay? It's just these are opinions about what a lot of people have said for a long time. Matter of fact, rhetoric, if you will. That's all it is. It's rhetoric. And matter of fact, if you look at this piece here, celebrities who said they would leave the U.S. if Donald Trump was elected president. I mean, this is not like some sort of, this has nothing to do with racism. Amy Schumer, Bryan Cranston, Leah Dunham, Samuel Jackson. Let's see, Amber Rose, Barbara Streisand, Jon Stewart, Miley Cyrus, Cher. Let's see, who is Chris Pizzell? Don't know who that guy is. Keegan-Michael Key. Neo. Oh, the guy's name is Neo. Man. Okay, Al Sharpton. All these people said they'd leave if Donald Trump was elected president, okay? President Trump is just kind of saying, here you go. Okay, fine. Listen, but it's not racism. They want to say that it's racism. There was a ton of false claims made yesterday at the press conference with Ilhan Omar and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. But hey, in the interest of being totally transparent with you, when the president said that Ilhan Omar said that she puffs her chest out when she thinks of Al-Qaeda, that's actually a mischaracterization. What Ilhan Omar said is actually, in my opinion, much worse. She was lamenting, actually, the fact that here in America, we say the word Al-Qaeda as if they are a bad, evil force. Or we say the word Hezbollah as if they are our enemies. She was actually lamenting that in a college class, that's what was being taught, okay? Because Ilhan Omar is an Islamist and does not like America and does not like Jews or the state of Israel. And now the president, because there's all these articles Trump falsely mischaracterized. Fact check. Did Ilhan Omar say this? Well, you know what? Good. Go look at the comments yourselves and tell me if you're comfortable with them. Matter of fact, we have them right here. Let's go ahead and play. Let's go ahead and play this one. She laughs at Americans for being afraid of Al Qaeda, and she's actually lamenting she believes that we are now being psychologically conditioned to hate Al Qaeda based on how we pronounce the word in a college setting. Has nothing to do with the fact that Al Qaeda are terrorists. Has nothing to do with that. This woman was elected to Congress, and the president is now. I just want you to understand something. The president now has the entire Democratic apparatus in the name of correcting perceived social wrongs, defending the most radical people in their caucus. That's what's going on right now. Listen to this.
I remember when I was in college, I took a terrorism class, and
is there a such thing?
Yeah, there was.
So you go there is a lab for that?
There was a class that you.
Do you go to a lab?
No,
go out a field trip.
We learned
yeah, making bombs. Is there a lab for that?
And so it was the thing that was interesting in the class was every time the professor said Al Qaeda, he sort of like his shoulders went up, and
Yeah, he's in command here.
Fight the patriarchy.
He's an expert.
And it was,
What's his name? What put his name on
we are
the
not,
area?
we are not saying his name.
Yeah.
You probably get to see him on CNN.
Well, yeah, of course. I love those guys.
But it is that you don't say America with an intensity. You don't say England with an intensity. You don't say.
That's because
the
we
army
have freedom
with
here.
An intensity.
We're not
But
afraid
you
of
say
America.
These names because you want that word to carry weight. You want it to leave something with
it has a cultural meaning, not just
exactly.
meaning.
So it's
stop. You see how that's much worse.
Voice.
She's talking about. It's like she's thought about this for a long time. It's much worse than saying I puff my chest up when I think of America, or I puff my chest down or whatever when I think of Al Qaeda versus America. This is much worse. This is Ilhan Omar, a United States Congresswoman, musing over the esoteric psychological conditioning of American citizens when it comes to our enemies. Much worse than how President Trump described it. I just thought we would clue you in as to that. But I wanted to be transparent here. It was a mischaracterization. But you know what? Hopefully more people will go and actually listen to the comments themselves. We're going to take a break. Going to reset here. We got more coming your way this morning at Conduit News. Go to conduitnews.com for more info. Back in a moment.
It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Hi, folks. Paul Harrell here. For those that can't catch Conduit News Radio with me on the radio every morning from 6 a.m. to 8, don't panic. You can always listen anytime on our digital platforms using your smartphone or computer. In this video, I'm here to help you navigate to the many options you have to watch or listen to the show across our digital platforms. First, you can catch the show on Facebook. Just use your internet browser and type in facebook.com/Conduit News. From there, select Videos on the left side of your screen. From there, you can watch the full 2-hour show each day or select specific interviews you want to watch. Another place you can watch the show is on YouTube. Just use your internet browser and type in youtube.com. Then, in the search bar, search for Conduit News. Select the Conduit News page as it appears. While here, be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell to receive notifications when new videos are ready. From YouTube, you can also watch every live show daily and all the interviews I have with guests. More options are available at our website, conduitnews.com. Select the Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell tab. Here, you can watch each day's show live or watch old episodes and interviews. You can also catch audio-only versions of the show right here on this page of the website. For audio-only versions of the show, you have some options. For Apple iPhone users, simply use the podcast app and search Conduit News. Subscribe to the podcast and get each hour of the show automatically in your app daily. You can also download the SoundCloud app from your app store and search Conduit News to find your station. And that goes for Android users as well. Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We want to make sure you get the latest on Arkansas news and politics. You have many options to know what government is doing in your name and with your tax dollars. Learn more at conduitnews.com. Here we go, folks. Welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for being with us. 870-275-9799 is the telephone number. If you want to chime in, you can text that number. You can call that number. Interesting story that we didn't get to on Friday that I'm not really sure. I don't really know what's going on because this is, this is geopolitical stuff. There's a sea standoff reported back on the 11th. Royal Navy trains guns on Iranian boats trying to storm Brit tanker in the Persian Gulf, forcing them to back off. Here with more on this, we've got Dan Perkins, who's a nationally recognized expert on foreign policy and energy, a contributor to thedailycaller.com, Newsmax, and thehill.com. Dan Perkins, welcome back, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, sir.
Did you get the storm?
Oh, yeah. We're
Conduit
being,
News Radio with Paul
Harrell
Harrell is building a liberty machine. Find out more at conduitnews.com.
Please be safe.
Yeah, absolutely. This is up right now at oh, hi Paul. Paul, hey, how's it going, Paul? Paul, hey man, how's it going? It's going good. Am I going the wrong? I'm going the right ways. It doesn't make any sense. I can't look at myself. But conduitnews.com on the front page, headline: Congressman Rick Crawford, Chinese economic development, a Trojan horse. This is just a transcript or a few quotes from the transcript from Friday's interview with Congressman Rick Crawford. Some pretty interesting, interesting set of quotes here. You need to listen to the entire interview though. It was really good, but it's up right now at the front page of conduitnews.com. Congressman Rick Crawford interviewed on Conduit News about the growing danger of China's economic influence around the world, and he is really on point here. Most Arkansans don't even know what the World Trade Organization is, much less what the rules are. Crawford's comments were in addition to a recent op-ed on Talk Business and Politics entitled, "Do We Want China to Slow Down or Stop?" In the interview, he shares concerns about China disregarding World Trade Organization rules and argues against nations doing business with China under the guise of economic development. Here's a few quotes. They'll promise you the moon. Nations in West Africa, as an example, will come here and say, we'll make infrastructure improvement, we'll give you 5G, and you guys will be on the road to economic prosperity. And we're going to create all kinds of jobs. So what they do is they'll come in, and maybe in the end, the payoff is they get access to the rare earth minerals you see countries in Africa have an abundance of, and guess who gets rich? Probably that corrupt leader of the nation in question. Then the Chinese come in, and they'll feign some sort of project. But look, they're not creating jobs. They're bringing Chinese people in to fill those jobs. It essentially is a closed loop, so all this is just a sham. They're very aggressive in Cuba right now, to say nothing of what they do here in the United States, and then their ability to influence through their soft media push. For example, they go to the agricultural media of all things, and they place op-eds. They put stories in publications that talk about how Trump is failing the American farmer, and the soybean tariffs are punitive, and he doesn't care about farmers, and all this other kind of stuff. That's their media influence campaign they're engaged in. Check it out. It's up right now at conduitnews.com on China.
It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Hi, folks. Paul Harrell here. For those that can't catch Conduit News Radio with me on the radio every morning from 6 a.m. to 8, don't panic. You can always listen anytime on our digital platforms using your smartphone or computer. In this video, I'm here to help you navigate to the many options you have to watch or listen to the show across our digital platforms. First, you can catch the show on Facebook. Just use your internet browser and type in facebook.com/Conduit News. From there, select Videos on the left side of your screen. From there, you can watch the full 2-hour show each day or select specific interviews you want to watch. Another place you can watch the show is on YouTube. Just use your internet browser and type in youtube.com. Then, in the search bar, search for Conduit News. Select the Conduit News page as it appears. While here, be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell to receive notifications when new videos are ready. From YouTube, you can also watch every live show daily and all the interviews I have with guests. More options are available at our website, conduitnews.com. Select the Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell tab. Here, you can watch each day's show live or watch old episodes and interviews. You can also catch audio-only versions of the show right here on this page of the website. For audio-only versions of the show, you have some options. For Apple iPhone users, simply use the podcast app and search Conduit News. Subscribe to the podcast and get each hour of the show automatically in your app daily. You can also download the SoundCloud app from your app store and search Conduit News to find your station. And that goes for Android users as well. Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We want to make sure you get the latest on Arkansas news and politics. You have many options to know what government is doing in your name and with your tax dollars. Learn more at conduitnews.com. Western part of Arkansas can because they've experienced a lot of flooding the last couple of months. What do you make? What do you make of this, Dan? In terms of Iran. I mean, the last time we had you on, we were talking about Iran. So, what's their play here?
Yep. The play is they're doing everything they possibly can to distract the internal strife in their own country. Most people don't know that in 2018 there were over 25 protests in the country.
Bringing you your daily dose of truth. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
I mean, we can talk about it right now, Joe, if you want. Yeah, we can do it now. Okay. So, folks, welcome back to the program. Briefly, before we move on, because you've got to listen to this press conference between the what do they call them? Not the gang. They call them the gang or the I can't remember what they're calling her. Calling these Democratic women that President Trump is now making the left defend. The Democrats, like Nancy Pelosi, were ready to, they were in a little feud, and now she's embracing them because she has to. It's like Nancy Pelosi may not like the far, far, far left communist part of her caucus, but she hates Donald Trump way more than she hates them. That's pretty funny. Oh, yeah. She hates Donald Trump more than she disagrees with him. I don't know. She hates Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I promise you she does. Anyway, so Area 51. Here's a transition for you. So there is now a campaign. Is it supposed to happen this weekend?
No, it's
okay.
It's in September, I think.
In September, there's an event to storm Area 51. So far, I saw there's almost 500,000 people who've signed up for this. Is it more than that now?
Let me look.
500,000 people have agreed to go to an event and storm the gates of Area 51, the top secret military base that a lot of people think has, experimental aircraft, aliens, interdimensional beings.
It's exceeded 1 million.
Okay, it's now 1 million people say they're going to show up sometime in September. And listen to this. The idea is, the concept is, they can't stop all of us. That's what's actually on this invitation. And so the internet is actually flooded with memes that are hilarious about, people going to Area 51. But all I have to say is maybe this could be made into a meme. But do you know that scene in The Dark Knight where one of the lackeys at Wayne Enterprises discovers that Bruce Wayne is really Batman, and he wants all these, millions of dollars and everything else. And Morgan Freeman, who's Lucius Fox, looks at the kid and he says, okay, so let me get this straight. You think that Bruce Wayne is a guy who essentially roughs up the worst of the worst criminals at night, and your plan is to blackmail this person? Good luck. That's the way I feel about people who all of a sudden want to storm Area 51.
Okay, so it's September 20th.
Okay, on September 20th. It's like, hang on a second. They have allegedly experimental technology. I wouldn't put it past them to have some sort of brain fryer where that's like all the people that show up to storm just start killing each other. Like, and then the guys at Area 51 are like, what? I don't know what happened. Like, they all just turned on each other like a bunch of crazies. And quite honestly, most of these people are going to be, basement dwellers. And it's going to be pretty gross, I would imagine. The I don't know. I think I wouldn't want to be there.
I take two issues with this whole thing. Two major issues.
Okay.
The first major issue is you're telling them about what, 2, maybe 3 months prior to the actual event?
And the Air Force issued a statement. The Air Force issued a statement and been like, you guys, what was the statement? Hang on, go ahead.
So the reason why, here's my biggest issue with it. Basically making an announcement 3 months prior. If there was anything that was actually there worth value in terms of to keep it top secret, it's gone by now. It's already been moved.
Yeah.
And there's nothing there. So
no.
What I think
it's still there, buddy. I mean, there's so much stuff according to the conspiracy theorists. They don't have to worry about these. I'm telling you, they've got these. In 2009, they displayed a laser ray that's for crowd control, and I'm sure they got multiple ones of. And this is technology we know about, where they just turn a ray on and it puts out so much heat for distances like a long ways away, and it makes the crowds disperse. I mean, you have 50 of those. I mean, there's just no way they're not. There's no way they're getting there.
No. That's the first issue I have with it. The second issue, this is something that I thought about with my friends that would be really hilarious. So the people that work at Area 51, they evacuate the entire facility, take every piece of technology that they have there that they don't want people to know about or whatever is actually there, remove it from the facility, move it somewhere else. And now that they have 2 months of planning, they have 2 months to start garnering up like little green men, like plastic figures and stuff, and place them throughout the facility. Like, and literally, like, basically just make fun of people using it. So when you storm the facility, there's no pushback. There's no one to stop you. You walk straight in through the doors. All doors are unlocked. There's nothing keeping you from any of the rooms. And all you see is you walk into this big, huge hangar, and there's a bunch of little green plastic men on the floor just standing there waiting on you. That's what I would want.
That would be troll.
That would be
very
so
trolling.
funny.
Well, okay, the U.S. Air Force, quote, "The U.S. Air Force always stands ready to protect America and its assets." That's what they said. Now, that's kind of ominous, but anyway, so far. And don't you know those 1 million people who have stupidly said that they are going to attend this event in September are now all being monitored in some way?
Oh, for sure. If they weren't monitored before, they're monitored.
And they're going to see it, too. Like, okay, here's the 1 million people that have said yes from the event. It's coming up September 14th. And now it's like, okay, well, let's turn on all their cell phone transponders. And you just see them getting closer and closer and closer. It's not going to work out too well. No. Again, it's like trying to blackmail Bruce Wayne.
And
it's really stupid.
According to the article that I was just really quick browsing through to find the date, apparently part of their plan is just to run at the facility.
I know, and I didn't know what a Naruto run was.
Yeah, you don't. It's so stupid.
I know. I had to figure it out. Last night I was
literally
Googling.
Lean forward and throw your arms behind your back.
I know. Last night I was like, what is a Naruto? What is that?
It's a character from a TV show.
So it's anime, and apparently when you run leaned over with your arms back like this, I look like I'm in a space capsule. You run faster in the anime world.
Well, it's a specifically.
You can dodge bullets.
I remember watching this as a kid, because
they can't catch us all.
Sunday morning cartoons, man, but
they can't stop.
The show itself is about ninjas, and all the ninjas run like that, and they run really fast.
Yeah, Anyway, you know what I would say about the laser ray though? The crowd controlling laser ray, they can't fry all of us. You just gotta keep going through.
You know what? Never mind. I'm not gonna say it.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let's get to this. So Ryan Saavedra over at the Daily Wire, which is a great website. Oh no, let's get to Trump's tweets first. What am I doing? Okay. Trump is essentially telling the world what he has done over the last 5 days. The Democrats were trying to distance themselves from the four progressives, but now they are forced to embrace them. That means they are endorsing socialism, hate of Israel, and the United States. Not good for Democrats. Don't you know? I mean, I know you got the media spinning for you like crazy today. I know the people who are blind, most of them are going to remain blind. Most of them are going to remain very, very vocal. This shrinking, Democrat ideology, but the president is right here. Next tweet. We will never be a socialist or communist country. If you are not happy here, you can leave. It is your choice and your choice alone. This is about love for America. Certain people hate our country. Now, the left will take this tweet and be like, he's being a racist. Certain people, what do you mean? You mean black people? No, he means the people who are constantly complaining. He said constantly complain, but they're the ones that believe that the government should essentially force all of us to put all of our money into one big pot and then divide it up equally. He went on about the Democrats, or about these four congresswomen. They are anti-Israel, pro-Al-Qaeda, and comment on 9/11 attacks. Some people did something. Radical left Democrats want open borders, which mean drugs, crime, human trafficking, and much more. Detention facilities are not concentration camps. America has never been stronger than it is now. Rebuilt military, highest stock market ever, lowest unemployment, and more people working than ever. Keep America great. So don't you know they're going to hate that? Let's actually get real quick. I want to refresh your memory. We did this in the first segment. Here's Representative Ilhan Omar. Some people did something on 9/11. Listen to this.
CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties.
That's ridiculous. That's offensive. She smirked when she said some people did something, because that's basically yada yada-ing. Any Seinfeld referencing out there? Right? Yada yada. I heard one comedian one time say, yada yada. You can't yada yada over a bunch of stuff. Some people did something. That's a yada yada over, Al-Qaeda attacked us. Terrorists, Muslim terrorists, because of what their religion said, attacked us. That's like, again, one comedian, somebody said, I can't remember who it is. I'm sorry, I can't attribute this. I heard it a long time ago. But that's like saying Adolf Hitler flunked out of art school, yada, 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 and the United States dropped an atomic bomb on the sovereign nation of Japan. You kind of left a lot out there, didn't you, Omar? So here is the situation. They had a press conference, and they had according to Ryan Saavedra, or Saavedra, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Really love his reporting. I'd like to meet Ryan someday. Far-left Congresswoman imploded at press conference about Trump's tweets. He writes, 4 far-left congresswomen held a press conference on Monday about recent tweets from President Donald Trump that they claimed were racist. And during the press conference, they proceeded to melt down, making multiple false statements and refusing to answer specific questions from reporters. I think the country is so tired of accusations of racism left and right when there's not actually racism. The left is so the country, I think, in general, is so tired of this. We elected a black president twice, okay? And yet somehow Barack Obama brought up more racial issues than he did resolve any of them. That's his main legacy, by the way. Representatives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and Ayanna Pressley, I think I made the accent on that, I don't know, hosted the press conference to address recent attacks from Trump, who has highlighted their behavior and said they are anti-American. Our Omar made multiple false claims during the press conference, saying this is a president who has called black athletes SOBs. This is a president who has called people who come from black and brown countries S-holes. This is a president who has equated neo-Nazis with those who protest them. I'm not going to play that clip for you because, it's unedited out S-holes, okay? But let's just address those comments. Savidra says, none of what Omar claimed is true. Trump referred to athletes who kneel during the national anthem as SOBs, not black athletes. There's a big difference between calling those who kneel during the national anthem SOBs and saying that it's all black athletes. Trump referred to certain countries as S-holes, not black and brown people. Again, big difference. Trump did not equate neo-Nazis with those who protest them. He specifically condemned them, and there's plenty of evidence to support that. And, by the way, that whole Charlottesville thing, I mean, I interviewed people who were there who were not neo-Nazis, who were there because they just don't think we should be editing history. Omar went on to claim that Trump was accused of criminally colluding with Russia to undermine the U.S. election, despite the fact that Special Counsel Robert Mueller stated in his report on Russia that they did not conspire with Russia. Omar also spread conspiracy theories, claiming without evidence that Trump was trying to promote, quote, an agenda to allow millions of Americans to die for lack of health care. We can play that one. Joe, play that video, the one, not the first one, but the second one. Let's see here. Yeah, right there. Go for it.
This president, who has been credibly accused of committing multiple crimes, including colluding with foreign government to interfere with our election. This is a president who has overseen the most corrupt administration in our history.
Wrong.
And pursued an agenda to allow millions of Americans to die from a lack of health care while he transfers millions of dollars in tax cuts to corporations.
Shh. Conservatives. Slowly back out of the room. Don't say anything. I think we all also, like, conservatives, they need, like, we need, like, mannequins so that they still think we're there. They still think we're fighting. We know that we've won the argument. Like, continue to talk, please. Continue to talk, please. You are losing the House of Representatives. You are losing your majority as we speak. As you speak. We're going to be quiet and just kind of quietly exit the room. Omar also refused to deny that she was a communist and that she's pro-Al-Qaeda. Listen to this. She was asked, are you pro-Al-Qaeda? And she's like, well, I'm not going to dignify that with a response after she filibusters. Listen to this. Wonder why she couldn't just say, of course I'm not pro-Al-Qaeda.
Can you respond to some of the president's specific claims, most notably that you're a communist and that you're pro-Al-Qaeda?
You might have noticed how when he said, go back to where you came from, there was an uproar through all of our communities, because every single person who's brown and black at some point in their life in this country heard that. Now, when he made the comment, I know that every single Muslim who has lived in this country and across the world has heard that comment. And so I will not dignify it with an answer because...
Okay, all right. So no answer. Are you pro-Al-Qaeda? You're Congresswoman of the United States. You'd think that'd be a simple question to deny. Considering what you have said about Al-Qaeda, essentially lamenting the fact that we here in America consider Al-Qaeda our enemy. Omar defended her past anti-Semitic remarks. Let's get to that one. Go ahead.
Do you think that some of those comments made, if they were inflammatory, if they were controversial, that this situation would be different? Because he specifically directed some of those same comments back towards you.
Could you repeat that?
The president took issue with some of the comments that some of you have made on a host of issues and turned them back around at the board. Had those comments not been made, whether they be controversial or not, or you perceive them as being controversial, do you think that that would make this situation different? In other words, he would have the firepower to turn it back around.
No. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I will take this, and I think Alex has a great answer for this, so I'll let her finish it.
Don't put your hands on me, and my name is
Every single statement that we make is from a place of extreme love for every single person in this country. It is part of the mandate of why we ran for office and why we got elected.
Okay, so just so you know, Alexandria Ocasio, I'm sorry, Ilhan Omar, anti-Semitic tweets that she had to go back and delete. You know, it is pretty obvious. Not only Ilhan Omar, but also that Rashida Tlaib. There's, just stunning anti-Israel statements, anti-Semitic statements. I mean, what a shocker, right? What a shocker. You've got someone who subscribes to the religion of Islam, and they don't like Jewish people. Who could have seen that coming, right? Who could have seen that coming? It's like, man. Crazy. All right, keep going here. Do we have any more of these? Yeah, let's listen to this. Is interesting. So we have this Presley, far left Ayanna Presley on Trump. I will always refer to him as the occupant. Again, if these women keep talking, Democrats keep losing. Listen to this.
Remarks from the occupant of our White House. I will always refer to him as the occupant, as he is only occupying space.
Only occupying space. Okay. Yeah, we got to go to break, but I want to leave you with this real quick that we're running out of time for. Can you go to this tweet here by Benny? We have a tweet up by a guy named Benny. The same woman, Ayanna Presley, is asked whether she will condemn Antifa. You see, it just so happens Antifa decided to firebomb an ICE facility. And it's the same group of white Antifa, and I say white specifically because CNN made a huge deal when they did their special on this group of, there's some white rednecks who are actually not racist, therefore Antifa. And CNN did a whole special, and the guy who firebombed the ICE station is in the CNN highlight, report. Go ahead, click the play button.
Sir,
I know.
You're creeping in too far, and I need
This
to
is a
walk
really
you.
simple answer.
So this would be great if you could just back up.
It's a very simple answer.
I'm going to ask you one more time, sir, please.
Okay, ask me
Sir,
another time. It's not
please.
going to change. I just want an answer. Do you condemn Antifa for their violent actions against American law enforcement?
Okay, so now you're getting in the way of me walking, so I'm asking you to please back up. Sir?
Do you condemn Antifa?
Same thing happened.
Journalistic integrity, and you're not respecting my physical space right now, and I'm going to ask you to step away.
Antifa didn't respect the integrity of that building.
You can give me a card and we can respond.
So you're not going to condemn them? This isn't a journalistic ethics thing. I'm asking questions that CNN won't. Will you condemn Antifa?
Sir, asking one one more time to please scoot over.
Why are you scared to answer the question?
Into personal space, sir, and I'm asking you to move.
All right, there we go. So,
Sir?
yeah, whatever.
Sir?
CNN. Here's the thing. There have been bombshell reports. We got to go to break. There have been bombshell reports about journalists who are secretly working with Antifa. CNN then does this report, and then one of the guys, if this had happened on Fox News highlighting the Tea Party, and then a guy that Fox News had highlighted or was a part of the group they highlighted ended up doing something violent, it would be everywhere but crickets. Back in a minute. Hi, folks. Paul Harrell here. For those that can't catch Conduit News Radio,
It's Conduit News Radio with Paul
6 a.m.
Harrell.
to 8. Don't panic. You can always listen anytime on our digital platform. Paul Harrell here. Using your For those that can't catch Conduit News Radio with me on the radio every morning from 6 a.m. to 8, don't panic. You can always listen anytime on our digital platforms using your smartphone or computer. In this video, I'm here to help you navigate to the many options you have to watch or listen to the show across our digital platforms. First, you can catch the show on Facebook. Just use your internet browser and type in facebook.com/Conduit News. From there, select Videos on the left side of your screen. From there, you can watch the full 2-hour show each day or select specific interviews you want to watch. Another place you can watch the show is on YouTube. Just use your internet browser and type in youtube.com. Then, in the search bar, search for Conduit News. Select the Conduit News page as it appears. While here, be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell to receive notifications when new videos are ready. From YouTube, you can also watch every live show daily and all the interviews I have with guests. More options are available at our website, conduitnews.com. Select the Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell tab. Here, you can watch each day's show live or watch old episodes and interviews. You can also catch audio-only versions of the show right here on this page of the website. For audio-only versions of the show, you have some options. For Apple iPhone users, simply use the podcast app and search Conduit News. Subscribe to the podcast and get each hour of the show automatically in your app daily. You can also download the SoundCloud app from your app store and search Conduit News to find your station. And that goes for Android users as well. Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We want to make sure you get the latest on Arkansas news and politics. You have many options to know what government is doing in your name and with your tax dollars. Learn more at conduitnews.com.
Where the people are fighting against the government. And it's really significant because, as you know, the government is controlled by the mullahs and the imams and the leaders of the Muslim faith. As a result, things have happened since Mr. Trump withdrew the United States out of the nuclear accord. And right now, if you're under 25 and you live in Iran, the unemployment rate is 40%. The value of the currency has dropped 60% in the last year. Inflation is over 40%, and the people are upset and they're angry that they squandered the $150 billion on supporting terrorist organizations as opposed to supporting the people. So the Iranian government...
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. It's kind of got to put this first hour in the can here because I talked way too long. We got a great rest of the program for you. We got one more full hour of the show coming your way. Next, we're going to be talking with Ira Stevens coming up at 7:33, as well as had some Stuttgart, Arkansas duck call makers that were at the White House. You see that on the front page of the Gazette? Good for them. It's fantastic. They even get to talk with Ben Carson, Trump administration official Ben Carson. Apparently, he had some positive things to say about the duck calls. We'll give you that much, much, much more. Don't go anywhere.
News Talk 101.3 FM and 12:30 AM KBTM, Jonesboro, an EAB radio station.
It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Hi, folks. Paul Harrell here. For those that can't catch Conduit News Radio with me on the radio every morning from 6 a.m. to 8, don't panic. You can always listen anytime on our digital platforms using your smartphone or computer. In this video, I'm here to help you navigate to the many options you have to watch or listen to the show across our digital platforms. First, you can catch the show on Facebook. Just use your internet browser and type in facebook.com/Conduit News. From there, select Videos on the left side of your screen. From there, you can watch the full 2-hour show each day or select specific interviews you want to watch. Another place you can watch the show is on YouTube. Just use your internet browser and type in youtube.com. Then, in the search bar, search for Conduit News. Select the Conduit News page as it appears. While here, be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell to receive notifications when new videos are ready. From YouTube, you can also watch every live show daily and all the interviews I have with guests. More options are available at our website, conduitnews.com. Select the Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell tab. Here, you can watch each day's show live or watch old episodes and interviews. You can also catch audio-only versions of the show right here on this page of the website. For audio-only versions of the show, you have some options. For Apple iPhone users, simply use the podcast app and search Conduit News. Subscribe to the podcast and get each hour of the show automatically in your app daily. You can also download the SoundCloud app from your app store and search Conduit News to find your station. And that goes for Android users as well. Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We want to make sure you get the latest on Arkansas news and politics. You have many options to know what government is doing in your name and with your tax dollars. Learn more at conduitnews.com.
Is trying to distract the people and get them to focus back on the Americans. Used to be when you hear people, you would hear this cry of death to America. Now the cry in the crowds and the protests is death to the dictators, the imams and the mullahs. So there's a lot of disruption and unrest within the country that the government's trying to do this, and as a result, they're trying to distract the people away from their lives and focus on potential attacks on the economy and on the government itself.
You know, some people say that there may be, negotiations between the United States government and the Iranian government. But what part? Because I think we look at our own country. Okay, I obviously know that the United States of America is not a monolithic government. I mean, in terms of we have the deep state, for example, that can work against the president of the United States or other elements. And I think there's more than just, two different factions. But then you look at something like Iran. And they have this Iranian Revolutionary Guard, and who are they loyal to? Are they loyal to the Iranian government, or are they loyal to the theocracy?
I believe they're loyal to theocracy, and that's part of the problem for them, because the people are angry and are protesting, and the military, the Iranian Guard, is torn between continuing to support the government and the theocracy, or are they going to believe and understand the plight of the people and side with them? I think the only thing that solves the problem, I don't see a negotiation. I mean, if you understand, for example, this morning, we're talking. What we're really talking about here is trade tariffs, and so we put tremendous tariffs and we put restrictions on Iran. Are just going to zero, but Same token, if you look at what's going on in China, China released this morning that their GDP for the last quarter was the lowest GDP.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
All right, here we go. We got, man, this is hour number 2. Welcome to the program, folks. You found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We're building a liberty machine here. We got to have your help to do it. Just keep listening. Bare minimum, default. Just keep listening. You're helping us that way for sure. Telephone number 870-275-9799 if you would like to contribute to the conversation. Headline across the front page, or at least on the digital version of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, which I guess they're going to stop printing the paper soon if they haven't already. According to what I read, duck call takes quack at a claim. Or I guess they're going to stop personal delivery or something. Duck call takes quack at a claim. So we have some Arkansans who went to Washington, D.C. John Stevens, president of Rich and Tone Duck Calls, his wife, company chief financial officer Angie Stevens. According to the Gazette, these are folks who make their duck calls in Stuttgart. Of course, long thought to be the duck hunting capital of the entire world. And it was President Donald Trump's 3rd annual Made in America showcase. Now, yesterday, he, gave that press conference and talked about manufacturers who were applauding as he was combating with the press, basically saying if Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Alexander Ocasio-Cortez have such a giant problem with this country, then they can leave if they want to. They are free to leave. The manufacturers were applauding, which you just got to know that made the mainstream press furious. Once again, highlighting the difference between, we've got these, coastal elites, and then you got the rest of us that are, at the very least, just in the middle on stuff and not, wanting to change up our whole pronoun game for some, I guess to feel good about yourself. I don't know. It says here that many of the guests were content merely to admire the duck calls and walk on, but Housing and Urban Development Secretary Ben Carson stayed long enough to hear one for himself. Isn't that fantastic? Let's see here. They sounded pretty unique. And not only that, they're beautiful. A great combination, he said before continuing his trek through the East Room. So there we go. I don't know. I think that's great. We got some Arkansans, folks who are making duck calls and probably had a great experience. We have here John Stevens. It was awesome, according to the quote here. It was awesome. You see all that stuff on TV, and then when you get to actually be part of it, it's a pretty special thing. Regardless of whether you're Republican or Democrat, it makes you proud to live in this country for sure. Yeah, that's fantastic. We're looking at our potential memes today. We got a meme of the day coming for you, coming up around 7:50, and if you missed that, we'll post it up at the Conduit News Twitter and Facebook page. Let's shift now to Pope County. Pope County is in a little bit of a pickle. And, I've talked to Pope County residents about the idea of a casino going in. And at first, it was never, not in a million years will we ever allow a casino to locate in Pope County. It would destroy our community. It would destroy our towns. It would provide a vice that we're not comfortable with morally to be, to actively put in our community. And now I'm starting to hear other things. I'm starting to hear things like, well, I mean, all these potential casinos that are in here lobbying for the chance to build, they're promising some pretty nice things. They're promising some nice amenities or some nice things that they're willing to give back if we'll just put a casino here. I'm also hearing things like it's inevitable because there are some people who have zero faith in their public officials to stand up and hold the same opinion for a long period of time. So they assume that these public officials, and I know they're going to have to put it to a vote, but they assume that people are all going to, they're just not going to be able to maintain their opposition to this forever. So there are some people who say in Pope County, well, you realize eventually it's going to come here regardless. So because we're going to lose, we might as well go ahead and proactively allow it to come so we can control where it goes. I'm just telling you what the situation is in Pope County. Now, yesterday, Jeannie Roberts with the Gazette had this headline, Debate on Casino Heats Up in County. And, I mean, it really just talks about how there are plenty of essentially casino lobbyists who are in close contact with the officials of Pope County on a daily basis. They have these lobbyists who are going, I'm just going to call them lobbyists, spokesperson or whatever. They're going to every community and civic meeting they can. They're trying to get in there. They're rubbing elbows. They want to build that casino. They want the voters to approve, because the voters did approve an ordinance regarding the endorsement. Before county officials can support a casino applicant, they must receive permission from the voters in a special election. The election has to be called by members of the quorum court. Here's a quote here. A month ago, the only people we were hearing from were people opposing the casino. It really looked like a one-sided issue, Black said. Now we're receiving multiple emails and letters from people wanting the casino here in Pope County. Anyway, what do you guys think about this? Here it is, casino lobbying. See, I knew there was a part on this. So there are 5 casino interests, and they are vying hard to secure the business of the River Valley. Quote, there's been a great deal of presence in the community when it comes to resort representatives. That's what they're called. Resort representatives. I think that all of them have made great efforts to show Pope County they are serious about building a relationship with them, some more than others, obviously, said Kelly Jett, the leader of the grassroots pro-casino group Pope County Majority. However, we must take into account that our county judge and quorum court members have access to information contained in the proposal that we do not. And with that being said, we must trust that they will choose the best fit for Pope County, and I still believe that will happen, Jett said. Now, Jett is a native of Russellville, now lives in Yell County, started the Pro Casino Group less than a month ago, and its Facebook page has grown to nearly 6,000 members. They want people to write the letter. Jett's group slogan is write the letter, rather, according to the Gazette here. Then there's the anti-casino group, Citizens for a Better Pope County, which is a very accurately titled name, by the way. What do you guys think out there? I mean, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Sound off on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Conduit News. I think that there's just too much money at stake. I think we will, I think the state of Arkansas has a history of compromising our values if you pay us money to do it. That's what I think. mean, there's plenty of examples of this. I hope the people of Pope County, though, will... You know what I honestly hope? If the majority of the people of Pope County want it, and then go for it. If the majority of the people of Pope County don't want it, then it's really the consent of the governed. I can sit here and tell you that. I mean, we all know what casinos will likely do to certain communities. We know it. We know that gambling is a mental health problem in terms of it is one of the most addicting things. If you look at the studies, it can be very harmful to families. So, I mean, it is what it is. At the same time, yeah, are there people that go to casinos and they're perfectly fine and they spend $100 to entertain themselves for a few hours and they, there are those people as well. I mean, it is what it is. But the problem with this is what makes this whole thing stink is how we got here. We had a constitutional amendment where the rest of the state of Arkansas got to vote for the citizens of Pope County because we put casinos into our Constitution. In West Memphis, Hot Springs, Pine Bluff, and Pope County? What? You can understand how this is very strange. I mean, if you were in Pope County, I mean, I heard of people saying, yeah, I voted for the casinos. I don't live in Pope County. I think somebody was in Baxter County. Yeah, I voted for it. I don't live in Pope County. I live in Baxter County. Not in my backyard. There's something wrong about that. Something very wrong. Telephone number 870-275-9799. If you would like to be part of the program, we're going to take a break. Going to reset here. When I come back, I want to tell you about Antifa, CNN, and the Democrat Party. Also, Ira Stevens coming up at 7:33, and your meme of the day at 7:50. Don't go anywhere. Back in a minute.
It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Hi, folks. Paul Harrell here. For those that can't catch Conduit News Radio with me on the radio every morning from 6 a.m. to 8, don't panic. You can always listen anytime on our digital platforms using your smartphone or computer. In this video, I'm here to help you navigate to the many options you have to watch or listen to the show across our digital platforms. First, you can catch the show on Facebook. Just use your internet browser and type in facebook.com/Conduit News. From there, select Videos on the left side of your screen. From there, you can watch the full 2-hour show each day or select specific interviews you want to watch. Another place you can watch the show is on YouTube. Just use your internet browser and type in youtube.com. Then, in the search bar, search for Conduit News. Select the Conduit News page as it appears. While here, be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell to receive notifications when new videos are ready. From YouTube, you can also watch every live show daily and all the interviews I have with guests. More options are available at our website, conduitnews.com. Select the Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell tab. Here, you can watch each day's show live or watch old episodes and interviews. You can also catch audio-only versions of the show right here on this page of the website. For audio-only versions of the show, you have some options. For Apple iPhone users, simply use the podcast app and search Conduit News. Subscribe to the podcast and get each hour of the show automatically in your app daily. You can also download the SoundCloud app from your app store and search Conduit News to find your station. And that goes for Android users as well. Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We want to make sure you get the latest on Arkansas news and politics. You have many options to know what government is doing in your name and with your tax dollars. Learn more at conduitnews.com.
in the last 27 years. The trade sanctions do have power, do have impact. The longer they go, the more the people get upset. And so Mr. Trump has said, no, I don't think it's in any hurry to sit down with the Iranians and negotiate.
Did you think, if we can, I guess I'm going to go ahead and, did you think it was wise when the president did not strike back after the unmanned drone was shot down?
Yes, and there's a backstory that I have written about, but I'm not too many other people have written about. If you can put that in context, let's go back a week before that, when the New York Times issued a story that representatives within the military and the security agencies refused to communicate to President Trump some plans and missions.
Exposing the truth and everything the Marble Palace establishment keep trying to cover up. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
All right, folks, welcome back. Getting myself some more coffee. We've got something weird. We've got this Keurig machine. Sometimes it refills our cups really quickly, and then other times it takes forever. So you have to plan segment to segment. Okay, we'll be talking with Miss Ira Stevens here in just a moment about local taxes. You don't want to miss that. Hey, CNN, can we go here? This is crazy. If this had been reversed politically, and there was somebody from like the Tea Party who CNN did a spotlight on, or Fox News did a spotlight on, and then that a member of that particular group that is on camera in the CNN special, then firebombed, an ICE or a government facility like the IRS or something. I mean, it would be huge news. Zero Hedge. CNN recently glorified ICE facility firebomb attacker in resurfaced footage. We highlighted previously, just months ago, CNN ran a segment on the Redneck Revolt, which promoted the Tacoma, Washington chapter of Antifa's John Brown Gun Club, of which 69-year-old Willem Van Spronsen was a member. Willem Van Spronsen. Cue the song Edelweiss. The rifle-toting Van Spronsen attacked a Tacoma ICE detention facility with incendiary devices and was shot dead by police on Saturday morning as he tried to ignite a propane tank after first setting vehicles on fire. It gets worse. Not only did CNN praise the John Brown Gun Club in its May 5th episode of United Shades of America with W. Kamau Bell, but the footage features shots of Van Spronsen himself while commentary presented the group in a positive light. Even the promotional video for the CNN segment included a shot of the now confirmed domestic terrorist. CNN's own commentary lionized the group as, quote, white, liberal, progressive people, inclusive, friendly to the world. Can we play a clip of this? Scrolling down. Right there. These
white people are the redneck revolt. Now, they aren't a bunch of rednecks revolting against equality like I first thought.
Start at the top.
They're actually rednecks revolting against the rednecks who are revolting. These white people are the redneck revolt. Now, they aren't a bunch of rednecks revolting against equality like I first thought. They're actually rednecks revolting against the rednecks who are revolting against equality. I'll explain.
Excuse me. So the United Shades. CNN has remained silent as the controversy grows online. As more people view the network's past glowing segment following a Fox News report. A man appearing to be Van Spronsen can be seen 4 seconds in a promotional clip released by CNN for their segment. What is the Redneck Revolt? 4 seconds into the above official CNN promo video from May 2019. Domestic terrorist Willem Van Spronsen is present while the commentator praises the group. It has now been confirmed by multiple media organizations that not only was Van Spronsen part of the militant communist organization promoted by CNN, but was a regular at Antifa events and protests in the Northwest, as also documented by Portland journalist Andy No. Here is my video, which captures Willem Van Spronsen, the JBGC Antifa militia member who was killed yesterday outside the Tacoma, Washington ICE facility. Police say he arrived with a rifle and began to firebomb the place and attempted to make a tank explode. He had sent a written manifesto to friends ahead of the assault saying, "I am Antifa," after which his colleagues are now reportedly calling him a martyr. And by the way, they asked these congresswomen, "Will you condemn this? Ocasio-Cortez, will you condemn this?" And we'll be releasing a statement soon, she says. We'll be releasing a statement soon. Fox detailed further. It was Andy Know him. Is that, how do you say that? How do you say Andy Know's name? Is that an NGO? How do you say that? Find out, please. I have the worst time pronouncing journalists' names. As Fox detailed further, Andy himself recently subject to the brutal. So that's the Andy that was beaten up by Antifa. He first noticed CNN's glowing coverage of Van Spronsen in their May episode. Image of the attack aftermath, which included an exploded vehicle. A man armed with a rifle attacked an immigration detention facility in Washington state on Saturday, throwing incendiary devices at the building and cars in the parking lot before dying after police opened fire. Oh, my goodness. Again, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Flashback Barack Obama, the Tea Party movement. Fox News highlighting the Tea Party movement. And then one of the guys in the highlight video ends up, I don't know, going to the IRS or something and doing something crazy. I don't know, something. It's just nuts, folks. Nuts. And you got, I'm pretty sure this guy, by the way, Van Spronsen, matter of fact, if you Google Van Spronsen, and concentration camps, I'm pretty sure in his manifesto here it is, Washington Times. Willem Van Spronsen, in his manifesto, blasts concentration camps. Where's he heard the word concentration camps recently? When did that word come into to our vocabulary? Oh, when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said that America's running concentration camps at the border, and then all of the Democrats, you would think, had enough. They came out and they defended her. And they said, no, these are like the concentration camps that slaughtered millions of Jews. It's the same thing. Well, it's what America's doing. America, and what does that do? It gives credit to the movement that is actually for fascism but claims to be against fascism. They want their version of fascism. Evil says concentration. Listen to this. Willem Van Spronsen declares early on in his manifesto that, quote, "Evil says concentration camps for folks deemed lesser are necessary. The handmaid of evil says the concentration camps should be more humane," using a term usually reserved for Nazi Germany's death camps. Anyway, I mean, again, you reverse this. Let's say somebody in the Tea Party. Let's say a Tea Party senator or congresswoman back in the Obama administration said that the IRS were a bunch of crooks and that legal plunder was in effect and that they were stealing from. And then Fox News does a story on how great the Tea Party is, and then a member of the group they interviewed ends up going to the IRS and firebombing it. And in the manifesto, uses the exact phrasing that a Republican senator did. I mean, it would be all over the place. But no. And, go research the journalists who have been caught colluding with Antifa. And you know what? Some of this Antifa stuff, I think, is to intimidate people in these big cities who actually agree with Trump. Seriously. I mean, if you've got a violent mob roaming the streets You think all of a sudden that your opinion is not in the mainstream when actually people in the middle, you guys, our opinion, well, I mean, I'm on the right, but, the middle is in the mainstream way more than Antifa.
In the last 27 years.
It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Hi, folks. Paul Harrell here. For those that can't catch Conduit News Radio with me on the radio every morning from 6 a.m. to 8, don't panic. You can always listen anytime on our digital platforms using your smartphone or computer. In this video, I'm here to help you navigate to the many options you have to watch or listen to the show across our digital platforms. First, you can catch the show on Facebook. Just use your internet browser and type in facebook.com/Conduit News. From there, select Videos on the left side of your screen. From there, you can watch the full 2-hour show each day or select specific interviews you want to watch. Another place you can watch the show is on YouTube. Just use your internet browser and type in youtube.com. Then, in the search bar, search for Conduit News. Select the Conduit News page as it appears. While here, be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell to receive notifications when new videos are ready. From YouTube, you can also watch every live show daily and all the interviews I have with guests. More options are available at our website, conduitnews.com. Select the Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell tab. Here, you can watch each day's show live or watch old episodes and interviews. You can also catch audio-only versions of the show right here on this page of the website. For audio-only versions of the show, you have some options. For Apple iPhone users, simply use the podcast app and search Conduit News. Subscribe to the podcast and get each hour of the show automatically in your app daily. You can also download the SoundCloud app from your app store and search Conduit News to find your station. And that goes for Android users as well. Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We want to make sure you get the latest on Arkansas news and politics. You have many options to know what government is doing in your name and with your tax dollars. Learn more at conduitnews.com.
In the last 27 years, the trade sanctions do have power, do have impact. The longer they go, the more the people get upset. And so Mr. Trump has said, no, I don't think he's in any hurry to sit down with the Iranians and negotiate.
Did you think, if we can, I guess rewind, did you think it was wise when the president did not strike back after the unmanned drone?
The intersection of conservative ideas and reality. Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of people ask, what I talk to guests about, when you can see me talking. So, right, we were just talking about the Bible just now. That's what me and Iris were talking about. Okay, Iris, welcome back to the program. How are you?
I'm just great.
We're talking with Iris Stevens. She's the coordinator for the Northeast Arkansas Tea Party. I wanted to have you in because City of Jonesboro trying to pass a sales tax on the people. They've now called, officially, it's called a special election for the beginning of September. What's the exact date on that?
September the 10th.
Okay.
We need everybody to come out and vote.
All right, so September the 10th, special election. You're just backed into school. Everyone's getting settled down, and you got to remember to go vote now. So obviously that's by design. Matter of fact, we're going to be talking on Thursday with Jeremy Horpendahl from the Arkansas Center for Research and Economics, specifically about his special election paper and how the data just shows that if you want to get a tax increase passed, you do it not in a primary, not in a general, but in a special election, because that's when the people are not paying attention.
That's right.
Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I think, that's very obviously why they're rushing this through in the middle of summer, because I've talked to several of my friends who didn't even know this was going on because they're out of town. Some of them taking trips to Europe. Some of them are taking trips around the country. They're not paying attention to politics or even local politics.
Yeah.
And that's what the designers of this hope, that they can get their people out the way they packed them to the city council meetings. They're hoping they can pack the election and get, all of the 4 people there, where everybody else is going, what's going on? We don't even know about this.
Do you think the process has been as transparent as it needed to have
Absolutely not. I think it's one of the most terrible things that we've seen. When you have city council members say, we're not here to litigate this, when people come up, excuse me, with problems that they have with it, that's exactly what they're there to do. Tell me what other measure ever is just run completely through the city council and put on a ballot after 3 readings, very little controversy, very little discussion about it, because it's a people's measure. They run it through there. Roger Kidd, who spoke at the city council meeting, really, he said, can you name one other situation like this? What if a group of people wanting to celebrate a charity wanted the city to pay to paint every city building pink? Would you do that? Would you just run it through a ballot? Because I don't know of any other situation, and this shows the amount of support that it has with the city council. And if you go back, if you have attended the meetings, if you go back and look at the videos or read the transcripts, you can see the support. They've had it all along. It was basically a done deal from the time it was brought up.
Do you think that some of the kind of predetermined result the city council has, do you think it has to do with the fact that if they don't get this extra tax increase, this full cent, that they're going to have to start seriously looking at making some budget cuts because, they've been eating into the surplus money?
I think that's a possibility. I don't follow enough of that, but I have heard people talk about it, that's a possibility, which is what is one of the concerns that we've had voiced from some of the other people. Is this money just going into the general fund and then we use it to spend for other things, and then they tack on a few projects that they have? I think it's interesting that some of these projects have been in the works for a while. Mayor Perrin, at the second meeting, I think it was, full city council meeting where it was the second reading, it may have been. Maybe it was the first reading, but anyway, he actually made the point that, they've already basically set up for these bicycle and pedestrian trails, and they've already essentially allowed for $140 million of bicycle and pedestrian trails. That alone would bankrupt the 1% tax that they're talking about. That alone. And of course, they'll say, well, but
by how much?
Well, they'll get $110 million because, see, half of the tax goes to police and fire, and half of it goes to the amenities, or the
over
quality
12
of life.
years, though, right?
For 12 years, but that's what they're counting on, is about $220 million.
Over a 12-year period.
Right.
Yet they've got one project slated to cost $140.
Well, that's, they'll say that, well, not all of that will be this, or we'll add in. So I'm not saying that, they're only going to do bicycle trails. I'm just telling you what those kind of numbers add up to be.
Well, if you look at the, quote, grassroots Team Jonesboro, on their website, they want project needs, quality of life projects. Aquatic center, senior citizens facility, volleyball, basketball, sports complex and tournament complex, a tennis facility, youth firearms training and sporting facility, bike trails, phase 1 down to Arkansas State, senior citizen center, tennis courts, north side pool and or park upgrades, dog parks, forum theater renovations, area pocket parks to include flood mitigation, downtown park to include flood mitigation, enhanced mosquito control, downtown amphitheater, bike trail phase 2, children's museum, sidewalks. Let's see here. And then they've got police and fire station, police, fire communication upgrades, everything else. It just, that's a lot of stuff to a lot of people.
It's something for everybody, and that's deliberate. Because if you see something on that project list that you really like, you're far more apt to vote for it than you are if you don't see anything on there. And that's guaranteed to make, I get what I want, so I'm for this.
Well, they're consolidating minority constituent groups is what they're doing. Because if you just, not a lot of people ride bikes. and want bike trails. And so if they were just saying we want a tax increase for bike trails, it would be essentially, hey, this is the majority of us paying for a minority's hobby, a very small minority.
That's exactly what it is.
But then, you throw in youth firearms. Okay, now you got a lot of guns. Now you got a lot of people. So the bike people and some people who want the government to build them a shooting range,
which is already under construction.
Yeah, and then they claim a senior citizen. So now you're gonna have older people.
Everybody gets something.
So but I don't know. I don't see how in the world they do all this stuff.
Okay, that's the problem. That is where it's not transparent. And we don't know if before we go to the polls, because I have not seen that anywhere, and people have asked over and over, will we have, before the voting date comes out, will we have a specific list of these are the projects that we're going to do with a price tag attached to each one? And that's pretty much the way that I function in my household. When I go to give somebody money, I know what I'm giving it for and how much it's going to be. And that's what I think the vast majority of voters expect in this issue. They want to know before they ever go, not to go to the poll and see on the sheet that you have, the ballot, oh, it's going to be this. And I don't even know at that point if there would be figures attached to it, if it would just be a list of projects.
What I would, I think most people would expect the government has a responsibility to tell us what the money specifically will be used for.
Exactly.
That's how government works.
Well, it should. It should. But this has seemed clouded in, I don't know, just the desire to get it done. Let's push it through, and give everybody a list of things that they think they want, and that we might be able to do 12 years from now.
I mean, why do this without showing the people specifically what it's going to go to?
We haven't been able to get that in.
I mean, at least with police and fire, we can at least categorize that. We know what a policeman does. We know what fire people. So, we know the money's going to go to that. Okay, all right.
Well, the city council itself said they didn't want to give a list because that would stifle the creativity of the committee doing it. We don't want to. And the Scott McDaniel, the representative for this, said, that would give us a floor and a ceiling if we let people know. Well, I'm sorry, that's the way government works.
Yeah,
it should work.
Yeah, I mean that's the way that's the way budgeting works. You would never do this if this is not how an individual would run their household. No, let me take out a loan and not really know what I'm gonna spend it on. No one's gonna do that.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's what the government does a lot of times.
Yeah.
Just, in tax increases. Has been the least transparent part of this entire process.
Well, let's talk. Okay, we're talking with Ira Stevens, the coordinator for the Northeast Arkansas Tea Party, and she is, we're facing this tax increase in Jonesboro. Let's talk about Fayetteville for a second, because this comes up with a lot of these Team Jonesboro people. They're comparing Jonesboro to Fayetteville. Obviously, the competing universities have something to do with that. I don't know if some people in Fayetteville may not acknowledge that, but people in Jonesboro certainly do, growing up here all my life. Now, can you compare the two, honestly? I mean, in
there are
terms
a lot of comparisons. Bobby Long, who's a city council person, has done a pretty good study of the comparisons. Some of it's not very flattering to Fayetteville. They took out an issue, and I've actually got the materials, what they spent it on, and they spent on a lot of, infrastructure and needed, what we'd consider necessities. And then they had the bicycle trails and the amenities and things. But here in January, they had this one for 12 years.
Yeah.
They did it through a bond issue.
So Fayetteville has essentially...
Yes.
They're paying for bike trails via bond issue.
Yeah. And in... April, I think it was, April of this year, they did a special election to, I don't know how you say, reissue those bonds so they could continue, and they had a list of projects that also continued the amenities things. But keep in mind, Fayetteville also does not have to spend the amount of money Jonesboro would, because they've gone and they've petitioned Walmart and Tyson and Jones and the large corporations that are in that area to help pay for it. And I think I mentioned the last time I was in here, they got $74 million from Walmart for bike trails, over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And that's something else that has never been mentioned in this, even though I think some questions have been asked. Where have you looked for corporate sponsorship for some of this stuff? Like an aquatic center. that would benefit, kids and things. Why aren't we looking for corporate sponsorship of something like that?
Some of the corporations around here that have employees that
exactly. And once they've done that due diligence, say we've got X amount of money coming in from corporate sponsorships, we've got this money we're considering bonded, all of that. But no, this has been rushed on, this summer through a special tax or special election, which has its own problems. We've talked about that. We can't even get the amount that the last special election cost Jonesboro. The property maintenance code.
Yeah.
So we contacted the city. They didn't have that figure.
Let's actually go back to that real quick. Tell our listeners across the state and online about the property tax maintenance code and what happened with that, because you guys petitioned to have a special election to. Go ahead, tell us.
Well, the city council passed a really overreaching property maintenance code in the fall of, I think it was 14. And, they had a lot of people saying, no, this is wrong, because it was almost like a communist takeover of your property. Of course, they'll disagree with me, but that's the way we saw it. We took their own property code, and we determined that this needed to be shut down. And we took it out with petitions and got enough petitions with signatures once they read the code, which, of course, the city didn't really want people to know about. All the little things were in it.
It was a template. It was International Property Maintenance Code.
Exactly.
I remember this, and their excuse was, there's some oppressive things in here.
But we won't do it.
We won't enforce it.
Yeah, we won't enforce that.
Okay, you
exactly.
clearly don't know anything about it. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And they had focused on renters and landlords. This would take care of landlords not keeping their property up, but the code itself took care of every residence, every building in Jonesboro. It was private, it was rental, it was business property, and most people did not know that until our group went out and collected signatures, and we handed them the code. Said, read this and see if you think this is a good idea. And when it came to an election, we got enough signatures for election. When it came to election, it was defeated like 2-1.
Yeah.
Because people actually had the information that this wasn't what the city had said it was.
Right. So I just wanted to bring that up because I wanted everyone to know this isn't the first time that the Jonesboro City Council has acted and then been rebuked by the population. There's another opportunity to do this again.
Yes.
They are
and
now.
So if you want these kind of projects, you make it open and above before all of this happens. Say, we need an aquatic center, we need this and that, because I don't think most of us are against some of the individual projects. It's the way this has been done, and I think it's been hidden. And they talk about an integrity committee that's going to be open and transparent, but yet. In a lot of the materials before that, they actually passed, the city council moved it on to the ballot, there wasn't any transparency. It was basically, you show up to vote, and then we'll tell you what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if there is kind of I wonder if they realize, how conservative, let's just say Craighead County, it really stands out if you look at the last several elections and voting cycles. In Republican I think they voted with the Donald Trump, Ted Cruz. I think that Craighead County voted for Ted Cruz.
I think so originally, yeah.
Originally,
but then they went heavily for Donald Trump.
Of course,
when he was on the ballot.
I just meant.
They are very conservative.
Yeah,
and that's one of their concerns is they understand, and I think it's amazing. Two of our editors of the local paper, and so often they are all for any of these measures, but two of them have expressed concerns about this. One of them just came out and said, I'm not sure that we need a tax for this. They think that there should be impact fees from developers that should take care of a lot of this stuff. He said, one of them said, we're overtaxed anywhere. We pay plenty of taxes. And let's not tell him that, but I considered sending him an invitation to the Tea Party because we're the taxed enough already group.
Yeah.
And then the other editor who made the point that, we've got serious problems coming up with Craighead County Jail and, detention center, and we're going to have to do something about that. And he said, I can see down the road where we get to have another tax or a tax measure on that.
It's funny you mentioned that. We were interviewing, again, comparing, Jonesboro and Fayetteville. Washington County, okay, they have a jail crisis too, and I was interviewing Justice of the Peace Patrick Deakins over there last week, and he was saying, basically saying how much they had to fight not putting a tax on the ballot, and so it's very possible that that's exactly right, and that all of these local governments, and I went over this at the very beginning of the show this morning, Iris, how there's always a reason. to not fight a tax increase from the argument of, well, don't you know this politician? Isn't he such a nice guy? So, for example, like if you had somebody at the federal level who was pursuing, let's say, a national sales tax, it's like, we got to fight this. But then you get somebody that, you know, comes up to me and is like, hey, don't you know that Congressman so-and-so is such a nice guy? I know him personally, and, you know, don't get so personal. It's like, well, we're just opposing a tax and telling people that this person's for it. And this is all hypothetical. And then and it's like, okay, fine. Well, then that tax passes. And then you get down to the state level, and it's like, hey, state representative so-and-so is for this tax. Tell them, hey, don't get so personal. You know, I'm just against the tax policy. And then it's like quorum court. And by the way, the more local you get, the more you can't say anything about somebody because they're a pillar of the community. They might have done X, Y, and Z. That's
you don't
really
really
good.
even have to. All you have to do is say, you know, he's my best friend. But I'm not for this tax, and he knows that I'm not.
A lot of times it's like, well, he's my Sunday school teacher or my neighbor, and so, you know,
we've personalized
just give him what he wants.
difference of opinion.
Yeah, difference of opinion means a personal attack, and that's what's going on here with the whole idea of Team Jonesboro too. By the way, if you're not for a tax, I guess you're not for Jonesboro.
And you know, that's all PR and the names that they choose and everything.
Correct.
And
yeah.
The next time we talk, we need to talk about who's supporting them and the amount of money that they've gotten and the Chamber of Commerce, because, you know, I want to get into that at some point, but maybe not today.
Okay.
But Chris Wessel, you know, one of the editors, he even made the point with this county jail, the detention center. He said, you can't go to the taxpayer well too often. That's a paraphrase.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we're doing. And part of that's created from the state. When we have a 6.5% sales tax at the state level, that doesn't give an awful lot of swingway for individual local areas to raise taxes, because we're already, you know, the third heaviest tax. And this tax in the country. Yeah. And this tax in Jonesboro would raise us to the highest anywhere around. And I mean, that even goes beyond Tennessee's, which I think is like 9.46. They're the highest in the country of combined state and local sales taxes. That would put us up beyond them. Yeah. And people need to think about that, because it's 1% over 1% over. Pretty soon you're talking real money.
Yeah, and Tennessee doesn't have an income tax.
And no income tax.
Yeah, that's something to think about. Ira Stevens, it's always great to talk to you. Thank you so much for the work you're doing. Appreciate it. We'll keep staying on this. When's the tax? When's the vote on that? Again?
September 10th. Put that on your calendar. We need everybody the way for or against. Get out and vote.
Yeah, get out and vote. September 10th, right as people are coming back to school, or they've been back in school for a little while. You got to pay attention, folks. Normally, people know that you only vote two times in a cycle. Now you're going to have to vote in a special election, so you're going to have to tell everybody to get out and vote so that we get a more accurate slice of the consent of the governed. And that's what a special election is designed to prevent, by the way. We want the largest cutout possible of the people to vote. Special elections are done to stifle the will of the people. And the evidence is overwhelming. The statistics are overwhelming to support that. I actually think, personally, special elections, when it comes to getting the consent of the governed, are not ethical. And unless it's an emergency to have an aquatic center, then there shouldn't be a special election. Now, if a tornado comes through, okay, call one, but that's not what we're dealing with here. We're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. Back with your meme of the day in just a moment.
It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Hi, folks. Paul Harrell here. For those that can't catch Conduit News Radio with me on the radio every morning from 6 a.m. to 8, don't panic. You can always listen anytime on our digital platforms using your smartphone or computer. In this video, I'm here to help you navigate to the many options you have to watch or listen to the show across our digital platforms. First, you can catch the show on Facebook. Just use your internet browser and type in facebook.com/Conduit News. From there, select Videos on the left side of your screen. From there, you can watch the full 2-hour show each day or select specific interviews you want to watch. Another place you can watch the show is on YouTube. Just use your internet browser and type in youtube.com. Then, in the search bar, search for Conduit News.
Select the Conduit News page as it appears. While here, be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell to receive notifications when new videos are ready. From YouTube, you can also watch every live show daily and all the interviews I have with guests. More options are available at our website, conduitnews.com. Select the Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell tab. Here, you can watch each day's show live or watch old episodes and interviews. You can also catch audio-only versions of the show right here on this page of the website. For audio-only versions of the show, you have some options. For Apple iPhone users, simply use the podcast app and search Conduit News. Subscribe to the podcast and get each hour of the show automatically in your app daily. You can also download the SoundCloud app from your app store and search Conduit News to find your station. And that goes for Android users as well. Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We want to make sure you get the latest on Arkansas news and politics. You have many options to know what government is doing in your name and with your tax dollars. Learn more at conduitnews.com.
Was shot down.
Yes, and there's a backstory that I have written about, but I'm not too many other people have written about. If you can put that in context, go back a week before that, when the New York Times issued a story that representatives within the military and the security agencies refused to communicate to President Trump some plans and missions, covert activities, because they said they couldn't trust him. And so the military is the one who made the recommendation of the attack that would have killed about 150 Iranians. And I think the president let it go, and then at the last minute, he basically, and you have to watch his words, he basically said, "Stop, I'm in control, don't do it." And I think that was more...
Need your daily news fix? Don't forget to tune in to Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
All right, folks, welcome back. We don't have a lot of time left. Speaking of the Antifa situation with... do what? All right, so you have... We already talked about this. You have CNN. You have... they do this spotlight on Antifa, a group specifically in the Northwest. And the group they spotlight has a member who goes and firebombs an ICE facility and then is shot dead by the police. We have people on the left not really wanting to condemn. In light of all that, this is your meme of the day. I don't know if this lady is Antifa or not, but it's courtesy of the Silent Majority on Instagram. Wants more government. Is she being pepper sprayed? Looks like it. Yeah. So, you have somebody on the left yelling at the riot police, and she wants more government because, the anti-fascists actually want government to control really every aspect of your life. And this is what more government looks like. It's pretty funny. We're going to post it at Conduit News, at Conduit News on Twitter, as well as Facebook.com/Conduit News. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh yeah, folks, please check out this piece. If you share anything, please share this story up at conduitnews.com with a headline here about Chinese economic development being a Trojan horse. We interviewed Congressman Rick Crawford on Friday. He said Chinese economic development is a Trojan horse. This is what he said. Quote, "When we have all these Chinese companies or the Chinese government, there are no Chinese companies. They are state-owned enterprises. They are agents of the Chinese government, for lack of a better term. They come in and they promise economic development. That sounds good, and it particularly sounds good to a region or a district like mine, the Delta region, that really needs a shot in the arm with regard to economic development. So people get all charged up about the idea that, oh, awesome, we're going to have a factory or a plant in a place that really needs an infusion of jobs and economic advancement. And that sounds really good, but I'm going to tell you that is a Trojan horse. And we need to be very, very careful about welcoming these people, this Chinese plan to threaten the U.S. economy. Congressman Crawford is a member of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Folks, check it out up at conduitnews.com on the front page. Arkansas, be safe. Have a great day. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.